Hi everyone, I'm Alister Benn and you're watching Expressive Photography. Before we kick off today's video, you may notice that the office is looking a bit sparse. We've had it completely redecorated while we've been away on the Isle of Lewis for the last 3 weeks, and we'd only got back on Sunday and we haven't had enough time to put any books in the bookshelf or any art on the walls. Also, the sound insulation has all been taken off the walls, and therefore the room might feel a little bit more reverby and echoey than it would be normally. So what's this video all about? Well, when I upgraded to this beautiful camera back in March 2023, I pretty much said it was the finest camera I had ever used. I have to admit that since I did start using it in March, there are so many things about it that I love that it's really actually quite invigorated my creativity and my love of photography again. Simple things like being able to use the panoramic aspect ratio in camera, my love for panos, film simulations so that on the back of the camera I'm seeing something that excites me and gives me that that dopamine hit in the field at the time of capture. That has to be one of the biggest reasons of shooting with a digital camera, is to see something in the field. Otherwise I would just go out and shoot with my Hasselblad. Very different, totally different process. But I've got rid of it. But as you can see, I haven't got rid of it. It's actually staying in the family. Now, what people don't really realize is that expressive photography is not just me. It's not just Alister Benn, that there is also my wife, Ann Kristin. And she, in her own right, is an incredible landscape photographer. She makes some beautiful images, but she doesn't want to be on this side of the camera. She doesn't want to show her images. She doesn't want to share. She doesn't want to be known. She just wants to do these things for herself. And I envy that to a certain extent, because she just focuses 100% on her own creativity and never has to produce a product to suit or be liked by anybody else. As you can see from some of these photographs on the screen just now, she is a really, really talented photographer. Don't let her hear that from me, even though she's editing this video. No brainer. But at the end of the day, she was acknowledged by the International Landscape Photography contest, International Landscape Photographer of the Year contest a few years ago, where she won one of the awards. So when it came time for her to change her camera system recently, she had been very, very impressed with the GFX100s. She's been looking at the images I've been making with it all year, and when her current Nikon D850 died in a spectacular accident, which pretty much destroyed it, it seemed like a good opportunity for us to start using the same system, the GFX100 system. Now, round about the same time as Anne had her spectacular accident, Fuji brought out this guy, which is the GFX100 Mark II. So rather than me just buying a second 100S for her, we decided that I would shift up to the 100 Mark II, and Anne has inherited my 100S. So we are now a 2 GFX100 family. I had hoped to spend more time with this camera over the last month, but as some of you may know, I have been suffering from a sciatic nerve disc hip pain problem, which has left me somewhat immobile, shall we say, for the last few weeks. So when I was out on Lewis, I didn't get a huge amount of time to try the camera, but I got out for one day. So let's just dive back in time to some of the 100S images that I've made this year, and I've just chosen a random selection which kind of show the strengths and weaknesses perhaps of the system, and then there are a few images near the end of the video taken with the 100 Mark II. So if we dive into my Capture One here, I have also moved on to Capture One purely because it's fine-tuned for the GFX100s. It really optimizes the quality of those files. And back in October, I also shifted over to Capture One. I'm still teaching on Lightroom, but I use Capture One pretty much for my own work these days. One of the things I really love about the GFX100s are incredible resolution. We have 102 megapixels, the dynamic range is insane, the detail, the noise, everything about them is absolutely magnificent. And in terms of image quality, I have to say that I have been totally delighted with the 100s. If one of the things I do like about coming into here is that these are the original Fuji film simulations, so I can dive through and use any of those to dial in exactly the sort of starting point look that I want for the images, whether that's black and white or some of the old classic negative or Velvia or just Provia standard. So all of those Fuji film simulations are built into Capture One here. I was using my case circular polarizer for the shot just to control the amount of shine coming off the rocks. And likewise with this shot here, I used the case circular polarizer just to deal with some of those reflections. Polarizing is one of those great things, is I just keep my polarizer on the camera pretty much the whole time. One of the things that we do want to talk about here is the resolution, and as you can see from the full frame, and it's easier actually to see in the previews here, you can see the full frame there, and I've cropped in quite a way, and honestly, you know, you're cropping 50 or 60 megapixel images out of your 102 megapixels, so the resolution really is quite insane. One thing the GFX100s isn't is a quick camera. It reminds me more of shooting with a film camera. It's a slower process. The buffer is pretty slow. The preview takes a while to show on the back of the camera. If I took a single frame, it would take 2 to 3 seconds for me to see the preview on the back. And that's with a pretty fast SD card in here. You can shoot in burst mode, which I was doing with these breaking waves on the north coast of Spain in October. And of course, we are getting all of that incredible resolution. This was shot handheld at 1/640th of a second at f6.4, and again with my circular polarizer just to sort of manage the polarization, particularly in the sky and in these waves. As you can see, I am an absolute lover of the X-Pan aspect ratio. It's still something I really, really love about the GFX100s. Moving on to the GFX100 Mark II, it's a chunkier camera. It's about the same size. I'll put some images up on the screen to kind of compare them sort of side by side. The main difference between them here is this much larger electronic viewfinder, which can actually be removed and an adapter fitted so that you can rotate it 90 degrees up and 45 degrees up and down. It's out of stock here in the UK at the moment, but I will be adding that to the camera before the new year, hopefully. So that's the main change. If you see the camera side by side, it's a bit chunkier, fraction heavier perhaps. I have an Arca Swiss L plate on here, which makes it heavier than this one. A few nice features: the tilted back, just as a better viewing angle for seeing the top of the camera, but fundamentally everything is more or less the same. I mean, if you've been shooting with a 100s, you know, you're going to walk straight into this and feel very much at home. As I said, because of my sciatic nerve pinching and pain, I only really made it out to the coast one day, but was immediately blown away, of course, with the image quality. You're getting all of the resolution that one would expect from a GFX100. This is a 1-minute exposure using my case 10-stop ND filter and a circular polarizer combined. And in that 60 seconds, I've managed to create this really beautiful diffused line there. This is shot with the 20 to 35, so it's a pretty wide angle for medium format, but it gives me those nice sweeping curves in the foreground. Not a lot of work done on these files, by the way. In the hand holding, Image stabilization has been improved, so really being able to handhold these cameras is a joy, just to sort of grab, when you get these fleeting moments of light when you're driving down a road, just being able to dive out without having to get a tripod and just being able to handhold is fantastic. And you can see here the resolution is not compromised in any way. If I was to go into the adjustments here, one of the things that is particularly incredible with the GFX is its shadow recovery. And obviously aesthetically that's not a look I want, but you can see right into all of those foreground rocks, and really there's just no noise. Now that's not a look that I was wanting for this particular photo, but knowing that you have shadow recovery there is always great. And finally, this was taken near sunset, and again the dynamic range on display here, handheld at 1/250th of a second f11, and just incredible, so shooting into the light, all of those situations, the need to blend, etc. these days is minimal. You can pretty much get most of the data in a single exposure now. If again I was to crank up the shadows, you can see there's a ton of information there. We just need to be cautious with these edges as normal. So we're now a 2 GFX100 family. The GFX100s is an incredible camera. I know a few of you who bought them since I've started using them, and of course Adam's been using the 100s for quite a few years now. I feel very fortunate to be able to use this camera. It is absolutely incredible. So as of January 2024, I'll be joining Adam Gibbs in Spain, and him and I will be running a workshop together then. So I hope to be bringing you an awful lot more in the way of photos in the new year. Something else I have been using quite a lot, Kay sent me this new filter, which is a variable ND polarizer combined. So it's a really cool little combination filter here. So you just rotate it for polarization as you would with any normal case revolution filter, and then there's a little dial which you may be able to see varies from 1.5 to 5 stops of ND. And these are particularly useful if you only want to carry one filter, but also for videographers. Did I make that word up? Videographers. That's one of those ones that's going to stick in my head now. Shutter speed obviously is really important. If you want to shoot at a 60th of a second and the light's changing, you can dial in a little bit more of ND there to make sure you can stick with that without faffing around too much with ISOs and so forth, and apertures in particular, if you want to shoot more wide open. So I'll be showing you more of this filter also in the new year. So that's it. The GFX100 II, first impressions are it's amazing, and it has everything about the 100s and a bit more. I want to thank everyone who's bought my book Out of Darkness this year. Since it was released in April, the response has been amazing. We do have some left, so we're still hoping to sell out at some point. If you fancy a really, really high quality photo book with writing from myself, Joe Cornish and William Neal, with 132 of my favourite photographs from the Gobi, and pretty much my life story out of depression into this happy, chirpy guy you see in front of you today, then maybe you might love a copy of Out of Darkness. Thank you finally for everyone who's joined the forum in 2023. The Expressive Photography Forum has been around now for 2 years, 2.5 years in fact, and it's an incredible group of unbelievably expressive and creative people sharing their images, but equally understanding the unique creative points of view of everybody else on the forum. Never will you get better and more honest feedback and help and support than on the Expressive Photography Forum. So that's it. I'm looking forward to seeing some of you on workshops next year. We've got Spain, Iceland and Scotland all sold out. Trips with Alex Noriega and retreats with John Barclay. It's going to be a busy, busy year, and we cannot wait. So lots of interesting things coming from us in 2024. Thanks for watching so far, and once again, thank you very much for your support. Bye for now.